I'm a warrant officer in the Canadian Forces with the Royal Regiment of Canada, a primary reserve unit out of Fort York Armory. I've been in the military for 19 years.
He always was interested in being in the police or the army. So for me it was I was proud of him at first, but then it was kind of scary too, because I didn't know what was he going into, what was the involvement in there.
They didn't have much exposure to the military, so there was definitely a lot of worry about me deploying.
When Aly's away, really just keeping together, staying positive, praying together, and because we have such a close community, we all are able to get together and just be supportive for Aly. So it definitely changes that relationship, both within the household and with the community. It brings us all together.
My biggest challenge was just making sure my affairs at home were taken care of and my family were looked after, and that they were aware of what was going on at all times.
When he was first going to Afghanistan, it was kind of scary for me too, and I was really concerned. But then he made me comfortable by showing all the environment, how things were there, how the camps were, all the facilities that were in the camp, and that made me very comfortable, and we were in touch with each other every day by way of texting or phones and stuff like that.
My brother and I were both born in Canada, so growing up, we never really faced any type of negative stereotypes or racism. I mean, Canada is so multicultural. Our neighbors, our communities have always been so supportive of him being in the Army.
The regiment that I joined did have a very large, diverse representation. And for me, that was comforting to see people of other backgrounds being in the military. Being accepted into that fold was relatively easy because it wasn't a new thing for them. Obviously, going to different parts of the country did at some times pose a bit of a challenge, but nothing that sort of wasn't easily overcome. You know, for me, just making sure that you are good at what you do and you portray a positive image, I think people will then accept you a lot easier than normally. Going to Afghanistan was quite an interesting challenge for me because of the situation there. Not to say that I was in any danger, but I used that opportunity to try and educate the people around me or people that I was working with on, what the different branches of Islam are, and just remind people that there are extreme factions in all religious communities. And it shouldn't be representative of the whole. My community, for example, the Aga Khan, is very, very involved in third world development, specifically in Afghanistan. And I used that opportunity of being in Afghanistan to show people of what our community specifically is doing in the country that we're there fighting a war in.
I remember when Aly was deployed to Afghanistan, we did get several phone calls for support for the family members. So that was very comforting, knowing that they were there for the families.
We have a family support network that's set up where we actively engage families, invite them to regimental events while the service member is deployed, to keep them engaged and let them know that that the regimental families are to take care of them. So for me, that was comforting to know that someone was there, even if it's a simple phone call to see how you're doing, or at some point if someone was to show up and shovel, my parents' driveway because they knew I wasn't around. That's sort of things that we take pride in as being members of one big family, looking after, the extended family.
It's really important to really get the facts and the information and know that there is a support system and there's people around to help you through when somebody you love is overseas or is part of a dangerous situation. So just being informed is important. Understanding
what each other's roles are in the household and outside, making your family understand what you'll be doing while you're overseas, and just giving them that level of comfort and understanding, and just letting them know that there is a support network for the member and for the family, just in case things do arise unexpectedly, and to know that they're not alone.